Hey, Corey McAvoy here of Raptor Labs. I just want to talk a little bit today about something that's near and dear to my heart, which is RevenueCat. We use RevenueCat a ton at Raptor. It's our really trusted source for anything in-app purchase related with our mobile apps, and that includes any subscriptions or in-app purchases or anything like that. We use RevenueCat to encapsulate all the complexity around anything in-app purchases. And it's saved us a ton of time and a ton of effort, and it's added a lot of value to our clients. And I think it was worthy of a presentation to kind of go through that. And I'll talk a little bit more about kind of what RevenueCat is, what problems it solves, how it solves those, and essentially how we get value from it and how our clients get value from it. So without further ado, let's just go through it. The main problem that RevenueCat solves is the mobile in-app purchasing problem. As apps grow and scale, they eventually get to the point where they need to do some sort of in-app purchase functionality. And those can be subscriptions or those can be consumables. It really depends on your business model. But the most common form that we typically see is subscriptions. And RevenueCat is really, really strong in this area. If you go and manually do a subscription implementation, you're typically going to integrate with the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, and you're going to do so manually. And when you do so, the implementation costs of that, of integrating with both of these things and taking the time to learn those APIs and learn all about that area, is very costly. It takes a long time to do. And not only that, but you also have to maintain those implementations. So those APIs can change. They can add new properties. They can change their policies and make you adjust. And so maintaining that type of infrastructure and setup can take a lot of time. It can be quite costly and error prone. So not something you typically want to do. So that really is where RevenueCat comes in. It basically encapsulates all that complexity away. It reduces the implementation costs, the maintenance costs, and potential errors. So RevenueCat has a really, really strong value proposition there. So for the rest of this journey, we're going to talk about someone named Alex. Alex is a conceptual app founder. He is growing and scaling his mobile app business, and he's at the point where he wants to add subscriptions in his app. He's talked to some of his colleagues about what he might do, and his colleagues have said something that we just briefly talked about, which is to learn all about Google Play Store and Apple App Store and all about how they do subscriptions and then integrate with those things. In addition, after those are set up, he'll need to build some custom graphs and charts for the purchase data so he can understand how his business is doing and he can make informed business decisions with that data. But obviously to do so, he'll need to build those things out. He'll also need to validate receipts just to ensure that people that use their product and use their subscriptions are actual paying users and they paid. So there needs to be logic to set up receipt validation, which is something you have to do on the back end and integrate with the stores. He also has to integrate this into his marketing tech stack. So him saying, similar to a lot of other current apps out there, there is a marketing tech stack involved, and that can be attribution solutions such as AppsFlyer or product analytics such as Amplitude or Mixpanel, and and many other layers in the marketing tech stack. He has to integrate his subscription integration directly with the marketing tech stack. He also has to configure discounts on his product and promotions. However, he's stressing out. He's worried that this is going to take a long time to set up and maintain, and certainly it will. Alex is also very fearful of in-app purchases. The Google App Store and the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store are very different. They have different APIs. They have different functionality, and they change differently. As we mentioned earlier, tech-savvy users can fraudulently validate receipts, which can basically grant them access to your content. And there is a really, really big long tail of edge cases with subscriptions. These are like chargebacks, failed payments, many other things that are consistent with subscriptions. It's just this really, really long tail of edge cases that you would typically have to deal with manually. And as we said before, analytics need to be built from scratch, integrations need to be manually configured, and there's much more. But this can lead to a large amount of time and focus being taken away from your core product, which is really what you should be spending your time on. And some companies have spent thousands upon thousands of hours setting these tools up. So it's not something that is ideal for Alex. Introducing RevenueCat. So RevenueCat can solve Alex's problems by encapsulating all these in-app purchase complexities away. RevenueCat has really easy to use SDKs that are built in Swift and Kotlin and React Native and Flutter and most other mobile app frameworks. And they integrate directly with the app stores, so you don't have to. And they basically encapsulate all that complexity away. They also handle store changes. So as we said before, if you want to do your own custom implementation, you have to really keep track of those API changes. So if the Google Play, changes different standards or whatnot, you would have to pay attention to those and also adjust those changes, which can take a lot of time and focus versus you spending that on your actual core product. It also handles receipt validation, which is a big value add, and it provides analytics. And it also is very, very easy to configure integrations. So for instance, like if you want to integrate with Mixpanel, it's just a few different buttons you have to click in order to set that up. If without RevenueCat, you would basically need a custom webhook, and then from there you would need to send that data on to your integration provider. But RevenueCat handles all those, and it makes Alex a happy customer. RevenueCat also acts as a system of record for Alex's subscriptions. So if you have many different platforms, such as like Android, iOS, and even the web, Alex can act as a system of record for those subscriptions. And in addition, if you have a webhook set up to send your subscription updates to your backend for custom business logic or whatever, you can also integrate directly with Stripe, which is a real big value add. And Stripe can actually essentially piggyback off of the RevenueCat webhook and send updates as well. So if you did not have that, you would need to basically set those up separately and essentially build multiple different webhooks for all of these platforms and basically manually update logic with all these different system of records. It really creates a lot of complexity, and it's not really ideal. The subscription updates can also be relayed to any dependent integrations, such as Mixpanel or Amplitude, and RevenueCat just handles that automatically for you as long as you set it up via their native integrations, which is what we have here detailed on the right. RevenueCat also provides receipt validations and handles thousands of edge cases for Alex. So receipt validation would typically, without RevenueCat, you would need to set up a server-side function that basically takes the user's receipt, sends that to the stores, and those stores will essentially provide validation and send that back to your backend, which essentially says it's valid or not. And then you would then send that back to your app. With RevenueCat, you don't need to do any of that. RevenueCat just handles that all for you automatically and really encapsulates all the complexity. Even if you do those on your own, on the back end, there still is ability for customers to still game the system if they're really, really tech savvy. RevenueCat's iterated on that a lot, and they're able to properly validate receipts. And RevenueCat, more importantly, also handles thousands of edge cases, such as credit card payments failing or chargebacks. Handling all those different edge cases are just kind of a nightmare if you're doing that, individually. RevenueCat just handles those out of the box, which just makes it a lot more simpler. Alex can also use a built-in dashboard for analytics to track performance of his campaigns very easily. Most early stage apps, you can really save a lot of time by just using these analytics and these dashboards. Eventually, if you get big enough, you will create your own, custom marketing tech stack. But if you're, under, 10 million in annual recurring revenue, like it just makes more sense to use these dashboards. They're just provided out of the box, and you don't have to build them custom. So and they're really, really valuable. They track important metrics such as CLV, customer lifetime value, annual recurring revenue, monthly recurring revenue, conversion rates, churn analysis, retention. And these are just super valuable for most mobile app businesses. The implementation process is pretty straightforward. Raptor, my company, has a playbook that we do for implementing RevenueCat in your app, and it's basically just a simple 5-step process. Step 1 is you basically need to go into Google Play and the Apple App Store and create your product offerings there, which is pretty standard. From there, you'll need to basically go into RevenueCat, create an account, and then you basically configure the offerings directly in RevenueCat. When you do that, you'll actually reference what you built in Google Play and Apple App Store, and you just need to do that once. Once you do that, you're good to go. Then step 3, a developer will need to install the SDK in the mobile app, whether it's React Native, Swift, Kotlin, Flutter, whatever it is. And by default, RevenueCat does provide a paywall out of the box with its own branding. But if you want something a little bit more custom, you can basically customize that in the SDK. It just depends on really what your use case is. Optionally, the 4th step in what we typically do is we set up a custom webhook. So depending on your app and your configuration, you might want custom business logic to be updated on your back end, such as maybe updating your users' subscription status in your database, or maybe you have some custom one-off integrations you want to send that data off to. With that, a backend developer would then go set up a webhook, and they'll just do that. And then step 5 is an admin or developer will then configure any integrations. So a lot of mobile apps, there is typically a marketing tech stack that they'll use with like Amplitude, Mixpanel, or AppsFlyer. So some of those integrations can just be turned on natively in RevenueCat, and it just makes it for a very, very easy implementation. But this is Raptor's 5 steps to set up RevenueCat, and it's pretty straightforward, and it's a pretty good playbook that we do. RevenueCat is trusted by some of the most notable brands, and some of the ones I listed here are ones that we're very familiar with. So the tapping solution was a Raptor project, and we set up the RevenueCat for them. But also Notion, OpenAI, Buffer, GoodNotes, and Pixel Labs are some other really big players. But the RevenueCat in particular had a massive decrease in the backend engineering hours required to manage in-app subscriptions, and then we implemented a Braze win-back campaign as well using RevenueCat for any of the churn data that RevenueCat provided. Pixel was a really early adopter in in-app purchases, so they were around before RevenueCat came in, but once they integrated RevenueCat, they saved over 6,000 hours per year, and had big opportunity cost savings in terms of their most critical engineers with data science and back end. And so those are just a few examples, but the list goes on. Pricing wise, I think it's pretty favorable. So, and I think Alex would agree. But it's only 1% of monthly tracked revenue, which is basically the revenue that RevenueCat sees. For anything less than $2,500, you do get that for free, so they don't actually charge you for it. So if you're just kind of really just getting started, they actually won't charge you anything. But once you hit above $2,500 of monthly tracked revenue, they will charge you 1%. But it's a pretty favorable rate relative to some of the other purchase toolkits. Custom plans are available, so if you do have a bigger business, you can reach out to them directly. They may give you some volume-based discounts, which are pretty common with a lot of these vendors. And of course, Alex approves. You can see he's pretty happy in this photo. If you are looking to integrate RevenueCat, or if you're having issues with in-app purchases or with your RevenueCat implementation, you can reach out to Raptor for help and support. Raptor has a playbook for integrating and supporting RevenueCat. We've done it across many different products, including Imprint, which is actually 2023 Google App of the Year. We helped them set up and configure RevenueCat. the tapping solution, which is a very, very successful app, Grace Hypnosis, Show Busy, and there's many, many more. If you're interested, in getting help with your RevenueCat implementation, you can reach out to us at raptorlabs.com. You can see a link in the description. But we'd love to help you with your RevenueCat implementation. But yeah, if you have any needs for that, feel free to reach out. But I'm hoping that this presentation was valuable, and kind of gives you a bit of an overview of what RevenueCat is, what problems it solves, how it solves those, and how you can basically use RevenueCat in your own product. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and that's it. Thank you. Bye.